Good morning, fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for January 14th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone is having a great morning and ready for another wild day of the market as we wait for the producer price inflation report this morning that could provide us some considerable volatility. But how about we take a look at what happened overnight first? First off, Asian markets had a really nice rebound yesterday as just kind of reacting to the U.S. market rebound. Shanghai was up sharply, up 2.54%. Hong Kong also up 1.83%. We saw India was higher and Australia was higher. South Korea also had some really good increases last night. But the Nikkei was the odd one yesterday in Asian markets. They fell 1.83%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, they're all green across the board, trying to recover a little bit of yesterday's selling. We've got the DAX right now up 0.78%, the FTSE's up 0.09%, and the CAC is up 1.08%. And here in the U.S., we've got futures pushing to the upside right now. Dow futures up 116 points. The S&P 500 futures are up 2175, and the NASDAQ futures are up 9650. But I would like to input into there. All of this bullishness is trying to put on a brave face as we head for a producer price number that could have the potential to sharply add to the bullishness or completely reverse it on that report. So be prepared. The morning open could be much different than what we're looking at right now. Let's take a look at oil prices here this morning. Oil prices right now, we've got oil futures down 15 cents at 78.67 a barrel. Brent crude is also just a tiny bit lower at 80.74 a barrel, trying to ease some of that rising pressure in oil. And if we take a look at XLE here, you can see XLE, at least in the pre-market right now, is trying to continue to push those oil producer prices higher. Natural gas this morning, looking at that, we've got natural gas pushing lower after that pop and drop yesterday in natural gas prices, but you can see falling into this little gap area here in the chart, down 15, almost 16 cents. Taking a look at cryptos here this morning, well, we've got cryptos trying to move back up and recover yesterday. Right now we've got Bitcoin reversing big, up $3,620 a coin after the substantial selling yesterday. Ether is up a whopping 157 points. Boy, these cryptos, it's just crazy volatility in here. Bitcoin's 3.90%. Ether is up 5.16%, where yesterday that was down like 7% in the morning. Just unbelievable whips in these crypto markets right now. If we were to take a look at precious metals here this morning, well, we've got gold. We've got gold moving back up here after selling off yesterday and bouncing back up. Right now, gold is up $3.90 an ounce. Silver at the moment is up about 7 cents at 37 an ounce. Copper, we take a look at copper in here, trying to bounce up just a little bit this morning. Platinum is slightly lower, while palladium is looking just slightly higher. So if we take a look at those bonds have been a pesky little problem for us here recently, and we've got the bonds, well, just ever so slightly easing here today. The 2-year bond right now is at 4.39%. Just remember yesterday's high, it was at 4.4%. 0.40%. So we've eased up a tenth. 10-year bond is at 4.79%. The 30-year bond is still flirting with 5%, right now trading at 4.98%. Watch these move around this morning after that CPI report. Could get interesting today on those numbers as we're seeing these currency fluctuations around the world creating quite a little bit of pressure here in the overall markets. So what does that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Tuesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I do truly appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at the markets for what they are, not for what we want them to be, and we want to shake off that bias. As I said yesterday, I would expect this week is really going to show us some considerable volatility. So whatever you decide to do, be very thoughtful about your entries, your stops, and be very, very careful in this market. Try to avoid those knee-jerk trades because the volatility could be substantial. Now let's take a look here at the diamonds. We had a nice little bounce back rally yesterday here in the diamonds, pushing back up, and now we're getting that follow through here this morning. But let's keep in mind, as we push back up here in this chart, well, it hasn't really changed anything yet. Notice that we're still struggling here with these resistance levels in the chart, and of course the downtrend here in the chart we also have to consider. So this rally back up could really be setting us up for the next lower high that we've seen here. So watch that carefully. It really is going to depend on the data. So as we push up, keep an eye on these resistance levels in here, and if the bulls really find some major inspiration in the PPI data today, then perhaps we could pop right on through up here, and we might come back up and see if we can test that little downtrend right there in those recent lower highs here in the diamonds, keeping in mind that we still have a bearish pattern here overall in the Dow. If we take a look at our SPY, very similar situation. Nice rally yesterday, pushing up, trying to push through some of these areas of resistance. We got through this area, and now our bigger area of resistance is right up here. We're up here testing it here in the pre-market to see if we can punch through there. But if we can punch through here, if those bulls continue to find that inspiration, then we've still got all of this congestion up here and this downtrend that we'll need to deal with. So we're going to need some pretty good bullish inspiration here in the market to push us on through. Is it possible with that PPI? Yes, it is, but you will want to keep in mind, I didn't mention this in the Dow, but you'll want to keep in mind if those bears were to be inspired here, well, we could certainly move quickly back down through this progression, back down here toward these lows. So watch that carefully if we happen to inspire the bears with that PPI data today. And if we look at our QQQ moved back up nicely yesterday, but it was still the weakest of the indexes yesterday, even with that push back up. You'll notice that we're trying to break back through this area of resistance this morning in the pre-market, and our stronger area of price resistance is going to be right up here where we're going to come into that overall downtrend. So if those bulls find really strong inspiration today in that data, we'll look up here to test that area and then even see if we can punch on through. It's going to require some pretty good data for that to occur. If we see the bears find inspiration today, well, it's not that hard to see. We might slip right back below here and start back down here to retest these lows and maybe even beyond, which I think would raise significant fear in the market. And then if we take a look at IWM, our IWM yesterday, nice little relief rally to the upside, and to this point, that's all this rally has been, is a little bit of a relief rally. Looking in here as we push back up, we've got some resistance right in here to test. If we can push on through here with some bullish action today, pushing up into these areas of resistance of the chart certainly are possible. The bigger resistance area, of course, being up here. And then, of course, we're going to have that situation where we could come right into this downtrend here as well, creating some issues or problems. And by the way, I've got this drawn up here, but it certainly could be that we could draw this way as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. I've got it flattened out here just a little bit for giving them a little bit more relief rally opportunity here in IWM, but just watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, our VIX had a nice little pullback yesterday as that relief rally occurred. You notice we made a new high yesterday on that gap down, and then eased back as some of those buyers came into the market, pushing us back up. I would be really careful, though, with the idea of chasing this market up, particularly with these resistance levels above and the data that we have coming our way over the next few days. So watch that carefully. If the bulls can continue to find inspiration, we need to see this VIX continuing to fade back here in the chart. What's going to be critical, though, as we fade back, can we break down below this trend with really good data, break down below that? Because if we just pull back and rest back into here, well, that relief rally could send us right back down on lower highs in the indexes. So watch that carefully. Now, if the bears were to come up with any inspiration today, this could completely reverse here, pushing up pretty quickly on some fear in the market. So watch that close. Let's take a look at our T20s. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, our T21.22 was probably our best indication that we were due a relief rally here. We were down here very low in the chart, and in the morning we had pushed down even into this reversal zone down in here on that gap down, and then that nice little reversal came back in, pushing us up, relieving some of that selling pressure. This morning we're trying to gap up, and we're really hoping that the PPI number won't reverse things. But watch that carefully here. If the bulls do find inspiration, they've got plenty of upside room to push in here for continued relief to the upside. If the bears, however, find inspiration, we have to notice that we've opened a door here for a bigger swing back to the downside if those bears engage on some bad PPI data. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our T21.08. Percentage of stocks above their 40-day moving average. Got to tell you, we had a nice little relief bump in here, but looking at that chart, you can see in here that it really wasn't a lot of activity in there pushing this up. It was a nice little relief. We need a significant follow through on this to really change anything here on the bullish side to the bullish side. So watch that carefully today as these numbers come out. If the bulls find inspiration, the first step is we need to break that resistance here, get back above that 25% of the stocks above their 40-day, and then maybe we can start stretching up, attacking some additional resistance in the chart. If those bears, however, find inspiration, it's not that hard to see here that we could be down here testing these lows really quickly if the PPI number comes in to the negative side for inflation, and then maybe even start pushing down into these areas of the chart on those numbers. So watch that closely. T21.07 also bounced up yesterday, but I got to tell you, percentage of stocks above the 200-day, not super impressive with that move yesterday in the market. So if the bulls can continue to find inspiration here, well, first we need to reattack this area of resistance, and then we can maybe start thinking about attacking this area up here in the chart. And it's certainly possible on a PPI number. However, we want to look right in here. If the bears were to find inspiration here on the day, I'm thinking we could continue this move down pretty easily if those bears have any reason to attack in those data points here this morning. And then remembering our T2101, where our breadth is, well, we got that nice little relief, particularly right at the end of the day where we even saw the SPY coming into the green. Well, the breadth was not exactly encouraging here. It was picking back up, but it wasn't really as much as we'd like to see in that bullish move of the market. So we're going to have to watch this pretty closely today on that market breadth. If we're going to be bullish, we really need to see breadth really following through here to the upside on that bullish wave, really giving us some confidence that the buyers are stepping in solidly and they're following these data points higher. If, however, we get a bullish move and that breadth kind of fades back, yeah, watch out. We could be moving toward that lower high in the index charts and setting up a short position. So watch that carefully here in the market. If we take a look at our economic calendar today, well, what I've been talking about here is we've got lots of stuff coming in our way. We've already got the NFIB Small Business Optimism Report, and you can see that actually came in stronger than consensus. And honestly, that is a little bit of surprise to me because businesses are heavy borrowers, and these rates going up, that can't be helpful to them in small business, but there it is. They're showing optimism here in that number. We've got PPI final demand here this morning that we'll want to be paying attention to. Econoday has this at 0.3%. The general consensus out there is it's going to be 0.4. Notice that the year over year, they're expecting that to increase from 3% to 3.3%. And then we're not getting a whole lot of consensus beyond that point here in the chart. So watch this carefully here today. If this happens to come in hot, expect those bond yields to zoom higher and bonds to fall pretty hard. If, however, this comes in better than expected, look for that reverse. Bonds could crush to the down, bond yields could crush to the downside. We could see bonds start to rally, and that would relieve a lot of pressure here in the market. So kind of keep that in mind. Look for some pretty significant volatility as this number comes out, and quite a few currency fluctuations as well. Let's take a look. We've got Fed speakers here today. Schmidt will be talking. Some bond announcements, Treasury statement here at 2, and Williams will be speaking here as well later this afternoon. We'll hardly get through this, and the next thing we're going to be thinking about is the Wednesday report of the consumer prices. So keep an eye on that. Remember, we've also got mortgage applications, Barkin speaking, Kashkari will be in here. We're going to get a petroleum status report. We've got Williams, Goolsby speaking, another bond auction, a beige book report, and the Treasury buyback results will be in here as well. So kind of keep an eye on that. Busy day on Wednesday, and that's not all coming on Wednesday. We will also have the beginning of big bank earnings reports, and we have going to have a very busy day here tomorrow with likely the potential of a lot of volatility, because when we take a look at XLF, we're not seeing a whole lot of confidence here on these bank numbers at the moment. So kind of, well, there's a lot of folks kind of holding their breath in here as to how these earnings will come out this quarter. So just keep a close eye on that. Let's take a look at our our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar, we've got a couple of notables here to pay attention to. We've got PGR that will be reporting this morning. Keep an eye on that. Progressive trying to push some resistance here in the chart if it can get going. We got a little bit of a kick up here so far this morning. And then this afternoon we have APLD. You'll want to be paying attention to that. APLD and CVGW reporting this afternoon. Now, keeping in mind, Wednesday is where things are really going to get interesting, and that's where we have the official kickoff to earnings. We're going to get JP Morgan, BlackRock, the Bank of New York, BK, Citibank, Goldman Sachs, and Wells Fargo. So they're coming at us hard here on Wednesday morning. So watch that carefully. Be prepared for volatility. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly, truly appreciate it. I know there's a lot of folks that watch the videos that don't comment, but every time you click those thumbs up buttons, leave that comment, it helps the algorithm show these videos to more folks. So thank you, everyone who does do that. Let's take a look at some stock setting up. Remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Do your own due diligence, and remember, the volatility of this market could be pretty substantial depending on how these numbers come out. So be prepared for that. And what that means is really think carefully about the trades that you're taking. I got to tell you, for me, if I was not running the Right Way Options room, I probably would be just monitoring the market and not worried about trading anything over the next couple of days because of the volatility that we could see. And you know, I kind of like the money I've made, and I don't want to lose it to the market on a coin flip on these economic reports and the beginning of earnings. So be kind of careful in here. That's my thoughts anyway. But that being said, take a look at RBLX. RBLX, that is a beautiful little chart pattern in here. Very, very bullish. Holding in here nice and strong. Hasn't been participating in the sell-off of the market, and if we get some bullishness coming into the market, this would be exactly the one I'd be looking to see that future or that further push to the upside. RBLX looking good. You might want to take a look at old Starbucks here. Starbucks trying to push up here in the market. Remember, we got that turnaround plan that they're working on in here. This isn't going to report until 2/4, so there's plenty of time in here on that chart. Watch that closely if those bulls can find additional information. Nice little setup here for today. If they can find additional bullishness, we might push right on back up here. Now, keeping in mind, we've got this bigger downtrend. We're going to have to overall defeat that for this to really get going and going well. But watch that closely here in the market on Starbucks. Picking up, looking pretty darn good. Take a look at Elf Beauty. Elf Beauty showing some nice bullishness here, pushing up in the chart. Here just yesterday, good push, breaking this little downtrend in here. Now this is an ever so slightly little higher low in here in that chart, but watch that carefully. If we can get some bullishness in the market today, we might just follow right on through here, pushing to the upside. I would keep a close eye on that. NVDL, this is 2 times on NVIDIA. Had a nice little bounce yesterday in NVIDIA, pushing back up. And we've got this little double bottom situation here in the chart. But I gotta tell you guys, when I start to really draw out this chart, and looking through the details here, I would be really careful with this. And this is the reason I'm bringing this up, is because we've seen so much of this lately. As soon as NVIDIA starts to wiggle to the upside, there is a chase into that trade, thinking that it's only going to zoom to the upside. But I got to tell you, we could easily find one of these resistance areas in here in the chart and continue to see that roll over into a potential downtrend. So be really, really careful. One of the rules that I try to protect myself from is buying stocks directly at price resistance. So watch that carefully here as this rallies up, if it continues to rally up, I should say. If it continues to rally up, what I'm going to need to see in here at NVIDIA is some kind of a break out of that, or some higher low in here that gives me a little bit more confidence that we're not just going to pop and drop after this big ugly reversal up here in NVIDIA. So keep a close eye on that. Now Tesla started coming up nicely at the end of the day yesterday, really pushing up, trying to test this downtrend in here. If you look right across here, we have an ever so slightly higher low in here. Keep an eye on that. If this were to find additional bullishness in the market, we might push on through that downtrend. Again, I still feel like with the data that we've got coming our way, it's going to be a little bit better to let that push on through, then rest back, and then look for that opportunity to get into that trade. Let's take a look at AMAT. AMAT putting in this little higher low. Notice we tried to break this downtrend here, kind of faded it back to some support here in the chart, but notice we've got this little upside trend happening in here. If those buyers can find additional energy here to follow through today, well, every reason to believe that might push on through to the upside. Do think that is worth paying attention to. I don't know why this was happening yesterday, but we saw a lot of moves in the aerospace defense yesterday, and RTX, one of the bigger movers here on the day in that area. So take a look at this big reversal candle here yesterday, punching us through this downtrend here in the chart, and also punching us through this big resistance area in the chart. So now any rest or pullback consolidation in there of any kind, I would be looking for that next opportunity in RTX. Watch that pretty closely. I would continue to keep an eye on some of these oil sector stocks. I personally at the moment really kind of like the way Occidental is looking, breaking through these resistance levels in here. Any kind of rest or pullback now sets up this opportunity in Occidental. So watch that pretty closely. I'm also liking the way ConocoPhillips is handling things. We're even seeing things like Valero having a great day yesterday in that push to the upside. So now any rest after breaking through some of these resistance, rest, pullback, consolidate, watch for the trend here to come into contact and look for that next opportunity to the upside in some of those oil stocks. Take a look at JBL. JBL also having a really beautiful bullish pattern in here to be paying attention to. Now, it still might have to rest here just a little bit out toward that trend that I've got drawn. As you can see, might have to rest a little bit more, but it's also possible it's going to increase the steepness of its trend in here. So watch carefully. If we can get that bullish action in the market, we might just see that push on through to the upside. So watch that closely. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Be careful, be safe. Remember, we've got tremendous uncertainty coming our way. Not only this, but we've got a presidential inauguration coming in, a whole bunch of tariff activity likely going to be issued next Monday. And remember, everyone, we got a 3-day weekend. The market will be closed on Monday, not for the inauguration, but for Martin Luther King Day. So be thinking about that and the risks that you want to take in the market, making sure that you're positioned correctly for the long weekend and the wild volatility that we could be seeing over the next several weeks as earnings roll out. So with that, take care, be safe. See you right back here bright and early Wednesday morning. Wish you all a great day.